What's up, folks? It's your girl Lisa with a Z, and I'm here live. This episode is sponsored by Miami Media School. I'm coming up on graduation soon, and of course, they let me use the studio to complete all my content and get me to the success that I need. Today, I have a special fighter on this podcast that I've probably been waiting the last 2 years to get on. I met her very briefly in Tampa at Knuckle Mania right after her fight, and I got Vlad Gold from Fusion CBD Products, sponsor of Bare Knuckle, also one of my sponsors. I was like, hey Vlad, let me get a picture with Britain really quick. Took the picture, and it was like a memorable moment for me. Welcome her to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and taking the time to come and record for this episode. How are you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm great. That was awesome. Want to say big congrats, for you about to be finishing, this chapter of your life and to move on to the next. So I'm super excited for you. And then just to hear the recap on, it's so crazy, when you meet people and then how it keeps going, just knowing some of the similar people and being at Knuckle Mania that was over a year ago. It's so exciting to be sitting here and being able to, just talk about what's happened in both of our careers and our lives.
Yeah. After that, I was very excited for that fight card in the first place because that was against Paige Van Sant. And there was a lot of hype behind that fight. I saw, of course, the natural beef that you have before a fight. It was very controversial because I know she had just gotten released from the UFC, and they were like, oh, what she's going to do now? And then it was the matchup between you guys. And honestly, I was on Team Britain Hart. I knew that I had seen a lot of your footage of your fight, and I'm like, this is definitely going to be a good fight of the night. And it actually showed, and you came out with the win. There was a lot of moments in that card that I remember, but the main one that I remember is I actually caught a picture of you and Joey on, staring at the cage, and you had just won, you have your medal on, and you guys are just looking into each other's eyes, with all this love. And I was like, this is the perfect moment. I have to capture it. I'm going to send it to you again. But I remember posting it, and you were like, wow, thank you so much for capturing that moment. And, that's the true sign of love and war. There's a beauty behind, this fight life. It's just, there's a lot of honor, there's a lot of respect, there's a lot of love. And to see that love is also possible within this sport is a beautiful thing. I really, congratulations to you guys. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you even get started in the combat sports?
Oh man. Well, it's crazy actually. I really didn't start traditionally like most people in boxing. I was born in Utah, so just super running through really fast on the crash course. I was born in Utah, and my family was in the Air Force, so I moved over to Turkey, and then I lived there for 3 years, and then I moved to Germany, and I lived there for 5. Then we moved to the United States, and so it was kind of starting over at a rough time. Maybe not a rough time, but a critical time in your adolescence. So I was 11 years old, which is old enough to know what's happening and what's going on. And you're, like a sponge really at that case, but it's, your personality is already shaped. Right. So my personality was already shaped by being, a military brat, being on time, being very, very strict, and I played soccer, and they were really, really different over in Europe, how they run their sports. Right. So we were really competitive. My dad was super competitive and held me to a high standard. I had a younger brother. And everybody basically I was friends with were boys. So coming over to the United States, when I kind of came into that, I was ended up going to school in Virginia. Yeah. Again, my parents started separating. So on top of just moving in and fitting in, now my parents are separated, so I was going through that. And school was just really rough for me. Mm-hmm. I found out that once I started kind of being really good in sports, I was more accepted. So then growing with that confidence, it was just always in me. I knew sports was the answer to who I was and what I needed to do. Going forward, because I've had so many crazy life situations, I actually ended up moving out of my parents' house. I'm really young. I thought that I could conquer the world. A lot of people see that, I really felt that. And I moved out, and before I graduated high school, I had my own rent, electric, mortgage, you name it. I was an adult. I can't preach enough to like kids, like slow down, like,
Right.
but I heard it to myself, and you just don't really believe it and see it. It's like really something you got to go through. Right. But anyways, because of that decision and consequence, you know, I ended up having my son really young. Couldn't play sports anymore. Sports was out the window. Right. And I was like, gosh, how am I going to do this? So I went to school. I knew I needed to make money. And I was like, the most important thing as far as like when you're starting a family by yourself, because, you know, that relationship at the time was just, you know, it's a whole other slew of problems.
Single moms, like, we do what it takes to get the job done at the end of the day for our kids.
Exactly. Sure. And it was like one of the hardest times in my life too. I was going to school, was working 3 jobs and a single mom. And then that was kind of part of it too, because I never really saw my son, because I would drop him off at the babysitter at 7 a.m. and then pick him up at 6 p.m., go home. But like by the time I fed him, gave him bath, put him to bed, it was like time to wake up and do it all over again. Right. So anyways, I worked for a bank and actually an accounting firm because I thought it was where the money was. Right. And then after doing that, for, you know, and seeing my son grow up in somebody else's, you know, care, I was just like, man, if I'm going to do something and work my ass off, I want it to be something I love. And I do not love this. And I'm good at it, but I don't love it. Mm-hmm. So I looked into it and I made a huge, crazy transition in my life. I got away from that toxic relationship. I actually stored my money to buy a house. And I worked my ass off for it. And I remember when I told him, you know, I was like, you know, I'm leaving, I'm taking Peyton, I bought this house. I waited until I knew I had the money to get out of a really shitty situation. And when I did that, it like just blew up into, you know, a whole different scenario, like with the police and legal problems and assault and battery. You know, it got really ugly, but it was like something I knew that I had to do. Right. So going into that, you know, that was kind of like, again, just really personally trying to build off of it, but definitely a struggle. Mm-hmm. So I went to school for sport management, and I was like, this is, you know, I'm closer though to finding out who I am and what I need to do. And like, you know, like we say, like from the fighting world, you learn from a loss. It sucks, but we learn more from it. Absolutely. So learning from that, I went, and that was great. It was an awesome experience. I love my degree. I went to Lynchburg College. It was a private liberal arts school. Again, busted my ass off, got a ton of scholarships. So I really didn't have to pay, but like maybe $4,000 for a bachelor's degree, which was insane. Wow. So when I walked away, I loved it so much. I was like, oh, I'm going to go get my master's degree. Right. So I continue on this trail. You know, I worked for the Carolina Panthers. I worked for NASCAR. I did a lot of really great things. In that transition and that, you know, thing, I ended up having my daughter. Right. So now things are like, oh, you know, I love my daughter more than anything in the world. At the time, wasn't something that I wanted. It kind of took me a step back. Right. So with that step back, again, here comes the other set of problems. Bad relationship. It was kind of like, man, I just messed up my whole life. You know, nobody's going to want to be with me. I'm a girl, like typical textbook young mom, has a kid by 2 dads. And I know what people say about those type of girls. Mm-hmm. So I might as well just suck it up and and just deal with what I basically lay in the bed that I made. Right. That going through that, I realized really shortly that, like, look, we only have one life to live, and settling isn't the answer. So going through that, you know, that was, you know, I ended up getting divorced, and it got really ugly. And then because of that, I ended up going into another bad relationship, which was even worse than what the current situation I was. Because I think it was just that constant struggle to find where you belong and find, like, a family system. Right. So in that step, it was the worst mistake I could have probably ever made. You know, just talking about everything that I have been through makes it look like cake as far as going to this next chapter. So this next chapter is just freaking hell. Yeah. And I ended up getting in so much trouble because of this guy. I ended up getting around too many bad people, too many times in the wrong place at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. Ended up, you know, I had like 3 different bonds on me from 3 different courts. And so my life was just really over. And I really felt that. And I was like, you know, it sounds kind of stupid, but it's the truth. I was like, my life's over. I'm just going to go to a boxing gym. Yeah. And just, you know, that's where I'm going to go. So I ended up going to the boxing gym just to, like, not get in any more trouble. I've never been to a boxing gym before in my life, but it was just one of those things that I was like, well, there's nothing else. Yeah. So I went in there, not really knowing about the sport and how amazing and how great it is and the people that are in it. Mm-hmm. I just kind of went as my own escape. And then that's when they were like, it was kind of cool, actually. You know, I remember like ups and downs being in my first boxing gym. You know, they were like, wow, like they thought I was lying to them, thought I had been boxed before. So, you know, if they were like, you know, blowing me full of smoke, then whatever, it worked because I believed it. I was like, wow, maybe I am. Isn't this a sport that you have to do your whole entire life?
Right.
And it just like really reaffirmed that idea. Is like, it's never too late, again, to be the person you want to be,
Right.
and to make those important changes. So I really believed in it. With my first professional fight, it was like, you know, I sold my soul. Like, it was just one of those things that, going back on like that, maybe longer than a crash course on on how I started, but like,
Yeah.
everything kind of had its like, but it didn't feel right. But there's something in the way. This is settling.
Yeah.
To where this was like, no, this is where I need to be. Like, I need to do everything at all costs to stay here and build myself here. Right. And it was, you know, I can kind of give you like, and that's the importance of me giving you like a little bit longer history, is like so many times in my life I started, quit, started, stopped, started, something got bad. And this, in fighting since 2016, it was one thing that I've had so many bad things happen to me in that time frame as well. But having boxing, I bounced right back so much quicker and faster and still stayed with it. So I really, you know, I have my own life journey in boxing. You know, being a female, I'm sure you understand, you know, especially going through bad relationships and seeming that I apparently have really, really bad choices and who I was, you know, valuing myself to.
Right.
So I had to learn that, you know, it could be a lot of things, young age, whatever experience, who knows what it was. But I still was obviously making the same mistake with these toxic relationships. So when I finally just pulled out completely, I was single for like 2 years. I was like, I'm not dating anybody. I have no interest in anybody. Off. And then it's kind of like where you say, when you stop looking for something and wanting something, then you find it. Because now, you know, rushing a current date, now I'm like you said earlier, with the love, finding that right person. Again, in the same situation, you can go through so many different situations. It's not going to be the right situation. So many people are not going to be the right person.
Yeah.
But finding that right situation, the right person, will present itself. And I met my husband through this. So I think about it all the time. I'm like, man, if I could go back in time, and God, I would love to. Like, I would just love to go rewrite some of the things I did wrong or the choices. But I think about it, and if I did that, I probably would never have met Joey and gotten married and realized and valued how a man should treat a woman,
right?
Because of all the situations I've been through. But even with that, you know, boxing was just super awesome to save me and take me in that. I wanted to be the best once I made the choice to just give it my all. Bare Knuckle reaches out to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, thanks for thinking of me. I'm a really polite, nice person.
Yeah.
I would like, even though regardless what people think of me, but I really think I'm a pretty nice person. Yeah. And someone reached out to me and they're like, you want to do Bare Knuckle? I'm like, no, thank you. But thanks for thinking of me.
It had a rep, you know, because like even when I was first hearing about Bare Knuckle, I'm like, man, that's brutal. Like, if you got to step in there, you really have some tough guts. And for you and Joey to also step in there, I know a lot of other fighters too that have gone into that sport, and you know what? It's grown in its own way, just like UFC, just like boxing. Everything has its start, and you know you have your foundation fighters, aka you guys, that build the sport. And honestly, it's been such a great experience to watch your development on the Bare Knuckle series. I did watch your interview with Wesley Cantillo with the Black Sheep Perspective. Love him. He's one of my favorite guys in the world. Super funny. Gives me great advice in the podcasting world as well. And I heard the story of how you guys met. And I was laughing at the interview because I'm like, this is so cute. Like, you guys meet at a Bare Knuckle event. You have no idea who he is. And then all of a sudden, like, here this guy is out of nowhere, and like you guys develop your story, your friendship, your marriage now. And so what is it like being married now, like through this sport? Has it made you guys closer, like being able to share this life together?
Yeah, I think, you know, being a fighter's mentality, like you said, it isn't for everybody, and that's fine. You know, we need like spectators and people to cheer us on. That's awesome. We need coaches. We need sponsors. We need all that stuff to make this work. Right. So being a fighter is a totally different role to fill. And sometimes people don't understand, you know, a lot of times
It's a lonely
whatever,
sport.
being in the gym all the time. Yeah, exactly. Like you said it, what, like so many people, when you talk to them, they're like, hey, if this is really what you want to do, just be prepared. It's going to be a lonely ride, you know, and especially the more you climb up, the lonelier it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And so being mentally prepared for that, you know, Joey's really amazing angel, like miracle blessing to me. So that's, you know, again, helps why we're so in love, because it's just something I really truly didn't think would happen.
Right.
But now that it does happen, it's kind of like me and him joke about it all the time. We're like, oh, who knew that it was that easy to not lie, tell the truth, don't cheat, be in love, be courteous of one another, and everything works out great. And then on top of, hey, we're working out together, we're training, we're pushing, we're critiquing each other's sparring, we're critiquing each other's fights, where he finds me sponsors, I find him sponsors. I mean, we're tag teaming on every level here.
Partnership.
Which is just, exactly. It's such a great thing to look at when you look at a relationship. It has to be a partnership. Right. And I feel like that's really where we have the success. I feel like if we were, you know, he had a job somewhere and I had a job another place, we would like, where's our other half? Right. So we definitely have that together. And I think that really our personalities and our roads, at how many they've been different, they have some similarities that we also really connect on that level. You know, it was kind of funny too, because I remember joking with a past coach about, we did this thing called Landmark, but anyways, it's a growing, like, it helps build your character and like life, figuring out life. Anyways, he told me I wasn't allowed to date or marry anyone who didn't do Landmark, and I remember him saying that, and I always remember like joking and telling people that. So then when I was like at lunch with Joey one day, we brought it up and he's like, oh yeah, I did Landmark, which not a lot of people know what that is. Right. And I was just like, no way, we can get married now. Like, it's definitely for sure a thing. So
it's the littlest details, like, all right,
it
check.
Comes down to the details.
There's a saying that you did at one of your post-fight interviews that really sat with me. I remember watching you do that post-fight interview, and it is, I am not a person, though. I'm not. I'm a feeling, and all of you guys are going to feel it. Seeing the emotions, being a fellow fighter, understanding the struggle, understanding the judgment, all the negativity behind being this type of fighter, and the pressure to be successful and the best, and you coming out on top like that and showing the world, this is who I am. That meant, I'm getting chills right now, right now, because I understand that feeling, to put in your whole heart and soul into that cage for just a few minutes of everybody else's time, but this is your world, and you showed everybody who you were. I got to congratulate you on that. I know that it is an inspirational thing to say, and a lot of people felt it that day, and it was a huge viral speech. Tell us what was going through your mind and what made you say that.
Yeah, well, it really means a lot, because I know some people have given me like some slack on it, you know, they like make jokes about the video, but you know, it is one of those things, like being super vulnerable and honest in that moment in time, man. I really wasn't, I mean, I knew I was going to win in the beginning, but for me, it was more like I had to knock her out. No way would they give me the win if it goes to the decision. Like, you know, fighting, politics, the world's corrupt as it is just what it is. But I wanted to make sure that I did my very best. But when that bell rung, the final bell, and I didn't knock her out, I was really like, you know, I didn't believe as much. And so when it came up, it was just so raw and like bursting of emotions. But it actually came from conversation I had with somebody prior during my fight camp, and they're like, why are you doing this? And I was like, because I'm feeling like, and I literally had that, so it was already in my brain, like in a file, like when I was running on the beach, like really, like I'm being so serious, like I would cry while I was running because I was listening to things, and I was really talking on my brain, like, and that's kind of what I said, because believe it or not, I had an injury in the Paige Van Sant camp. And I was like, just please let my knee be better, so it cannot be an excuse for me losing this fight. And I don't want to win it for me. I really don't. I want to win it for everybody else who believes in me, because I'm that feeling for them. I'm that voice, whether, you know, going through school, I've been there and done that. You know, living the single mom life, been there and done that. Being in an alcoholism, been there, done that. Been in you know, coke, meth, all that stuff. I've been there and done that. You know, I've seen all these things and gone through it. And if I could just be that like voice that you don't have to give up, you don't have to settle, you don't have to give up in your life. There's ways around it, you know? And then if I could do that and show people I make it, because I felt like people were believing in me, but it was like, oh man, Britain just went so far, but damn, she tried so hard, but she just missed the mark.
Right.
I was tired of doing that, and I just wanted to do it one time for everyone who believed in me so that I could be that feeling. Because we remember feelings. Like, you might, you know, forget my name, you know, might forget your name, but if you make me laugh, if you make me cry, you make me angry, whatever feeling give me, I'm 10 times more likely going to remember that for the rest of my life than something that's just a name. So it's kind of where I met, like when I said with Paige Van Sant's a person, it came out so crazy because like you said, the emotion was real, but that was more of like really what I was trying to say. Like, there's a lot of people that have awesome names and that's great for them, but you're not going to really necessarily remember a name forever like you would the feeling somebody gave you.
Wow. It was a moment for me, at least. I felt it. I felt the energy. I did see a lot of people with the memes and stuff later, but to me, I felt like it was an inspiring speech, and I thank you for that.
I feel like I really find that the people that haven't gone through struggles or go through life, like, they're the ones that, like, make kind of the memes or laugh about it. Right. And the ones that have gone through some shit, like, you know instantly who they are just because of how they react to you know, other people. I think it was actually the first time Joey said, I love you. Like, you know how guys and girls do love ya? Or love you with just the you? I think it was the first time he actually spelled out,
you know, when they first tell you, I love you.
Right.
For sure. So your recent title match.
Right.
It's tough to talk about because I had so much hope. I definitely wanted you to get that title shot opportunity. It was great to see that. It was here at the Hard Rock. It's, you know, we have such a big MMA combat sports community here in South Florida, so I'm sure everybody was out there to support. Tell us, walk us through the fight and tell us your experience coming out of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, you can relate, and it would be cool to talk about to kind of how serious of a thing like the weight issues are for females.
Absolutely.
Males don't have to go through it as much because there's more of them, but females, you know, it comes down to it. The fight, I'm not scared of Misfit. I was tired of hearing that. Yeah. So that's number one. You know, people could say whatever they want. I was asking for the fight, but going, you know, through these motions, I fought her before. It was, you know, she didn't stumble me or anything. She just cut me in a bad place. Right. We actually became friends afterwards. And I remember it was kind of like a blessing and a curse because as friends, you know, you share a little bit more, you know, things. And that's fine. I'll keep that privately. But, you know, she was even like, man, I can't believe you fought me. Like, I walk around at 150. I walk around at 123. Like, that's my walk around weight. I don't cut to it. It's just naturally how I'm built.
Right.
And so I knew that kind of being like the only mental barrier in my mind is like, this girl is so much bigger than me. But then I kind of like try to, you know, make excuses like, well, Paige was way bigger than me. And Pearl was way bigger than me. And I beat those girls, so I can do this. So I knew it going in that it was going to be, you know, something that a challenge I had to overcome. I trained really hard for it. I ran my ass off. I did everything. You know, strength-wise, boxing-wise, I felt like I was doing really good. And I really went in there kind of thinking when this girl started a bunch of stuff with me online, so the whole thing I'm ratchet came out. There was another thing because I had an interview where one part of my life, you know, I had to move out of my house. Well, and I didn't have to. I chose to move out of my house to rent it. And because of that, I slept out of my car so I could get my rent money from my house and box and do everything that I need to, but I was saving money by that. And that was a shortcut and sacrifice that I made to advance my fighting career. And then, so anyways, I was trying to share that, not as like pity me or anything, but hey, that you can do it. And that if you really want something, these are the sacrifices you have to make. But anyways, this girl goes on social media and she's like, oh, Britain's sleeping out of a car, but she's not telling you the whole story. The reason why she's sleeping in a car is because her family didn't want her and kicked her out. And it's just, it was so much drama and negative stuff. She called my husband's best friend and asked him to corner and coach her. One, why would she? And then after that, like, egged it on a little more to be like, oh, I heard Joey's drinking again and he roughed Britain up a little bit. which Joey's never, you know, and that's a big thing. He's really like trying to be really good on living a sober lifestyle. You know, he's done it for over a year now. So just to have somebody go, like, those are some sensitive low blows.
Low blow.
And normally I would like be like, yo, what the, you know, and I had before, like, you know, I had messaged before and be like, dude, you're really barking up the wrong tree. Like, it's about to get ugly, and I don't want it, because once you open that can, you can never put it back. And I've learned, and I'm just trying to really avoid that. Yeah. So I'm bottling all my emotions. I'm taking all those hate, and I'm bottling and be like, don't worry, just work hard, cut it off in the ring. You know what I mean? Right. I didn't say anything. I you know, one time I did make a thing, and someone was like, Britain, I went back and erased it. So, you know.
It's the petty Betty in us that, like, you send that you have the paragraph written out, and then you're like, okay, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
So I did. So anyways, going into the fight, I really did. Again, I was just like, man, I did all the hard work. I believe in myself. I got this. Yeah. So I really did. I felt like I won the press conference. I think I weighed the weigh-in. I felt like I won on all levels. She tried to get in a fight in the lobby with our coaches and some other little things here and there. Anyways, all in all, when we were face-to-face, I was winning at 100. Yeah. We go into the fight. The first round happens. Yeah. All I can tell you is that I went in there with a game plan, that we were going to move, be calm, that this girl really isn't as good as everyone thinks. She's literally a counter puncher. She just sits there. She doesn't engage. She waits till you throw, and then she just counters off of it. So we just beat her at her own game, right? Right. And so we really worked on practicing that, because we did. We kind of went back and forth, like, should we just rush her, and like, right. But then it's like, oh, there's a huge, like, that makes sense on someone who's your same size. Right. Someone who's 20, 30 pounds bigger than you, that's maybe not the best idea.
You got to use strategy.
So when I went in the first round, watching it back on TV, I thought it looked awesome. I'm so upset and disappointed with myself, because it looked hella great. Yeah. All I remember is people booing. Yeah. So I just could hear the booing, and I was like, man, and I know better. I really do, but you know, maybe it's just something I'm freaking learning, have to hold in my heart big time, because I've never been booed before. I've seen other fighters been booed, and I know that if you got booed, I'd be like, oh, don't listen to them, shut them out, you know? Right. But I just heard the booing, and I was like, because I wasn't doing anything, and she damn sure wasn't doing anything, because she was straight up scared, and I'm just like, oh, you think I'm going to rush you? And I knew that mentally I was like just getting it, and then I landed some good 2 punches. That booing, I was like, man, you know, I went over to this corner. My coaches were like, great first round. Yeah. Even regardless of the booing, though, I just couldn't get it out of my head. So I was like, all right, I'm doing good. I got this. I need to show people I want this. Right. Went in with second round, right off the gate, a little more heat. I think I got cracked. And when I say cracked, you know, like, I know that it is what it is, but I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I never was buzzed. Yeah. I never buckled. My head never snapped back. Right. You know, I watched a fight again, and you can even see it in the, you know, in the pictures. Like, even when I'm getting hit, it's like my face is all funny looking and right there. Yeah. But her, when she gets hit, you know, her head snapped back. Right. But every time she touched me, I guess it's just kind of one of those things that go into it, not even really necessarily power. Right. But, like, maybe, like, knuckle conditioning and all that stuff, because that's something I know she believes in really big, and not something I believe in as much as her. But it's like every time she hit me, it just cut. I walked away with that from that fight with 8 cuts. So it plays a factor into it, you know, like I can just say, fuck it, and let's go, which I basically did. Yeah. But it's still something that I feel like makes you fall away. Like, you need to work on practice, fighting through booing, fighting through worrying about blood dripping in your eye, fighting through worrying if there's a hole through my lip right now. You know, you got to learn how to fight through all those things. And so I was really, really trying. You know, I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I just remember that anytime she hit me, it was just like, it seemed to be like, whoa, like it just sliced me. Right. Again, not off balance or anything like that. But then in the 5th round, I think that's really where I don't know. I wish I could redo the 5th round, because I think that that's the one that really messed me up. I don't know if it was
mental maybe at this point.
Yeah, like, because it's like, I don't remember feeling tired. I don't remember feeling gassed. But it was just like, I think, you know, after you take so much damage, it's like what's so important to say in fighters, like with defense. Yeah. Like, doesn't matter how much in shape you are. cardio, because I can do like hella mountain sprints and I'm really good at cardio. But once you take that damage and just mentally, I think the like adrenaline, because me fighting through round 2 with a cut, round 3 with a cut, round 4 with a cut, and me keeping that adrenaline, be like, yes, I'm gonna go and get it.
Yeah.
By the time, like, it's almost more exhausting, So I really don't have, like, and I'm not trying to give an excuses or anything like that. It just kind of didn't go the best for me, I think, in that final round, because I had just pushed through everything else I could.
Right.
But it was really super disappointing. I, remember thinking it in my head. I wish maybe I wouldn't have, because I remember we're our toughest critics, and I knew that I didn't do well. You know what I mean? I knew that I messed up. And at the end, my coach is like, you never know what the judges say, blah, blah, blah. Hold your head up with dignity. And I just remember thinking that, and I stood there and I was like, I'm not going to be like, no offense, Paige. I mean, I know everyone deals with emotions a different way, but I'm not going to be like that. This is a sporting contest. I'm going to stand in there until I'm dismissed from that ring. I'm not exiting that ring until they tell me I can go. And I made that like logically right then and there. And I even asked Feldman, do you need me here for anything else? Because I was going to show people that, I'm going to stay in that ring. Like, even, how sometimes they do in the UFC, they talk to the winner and the loser.
Yeah, yeah.
So I felt like, that's what I kept telling myself in my heart. Is like, you're going to stay through this all the way to the end. And then I was really upset. I mean, I remember I went to the back room and I did. I cried,
Yeah.
I don't very much cry in front of people a lot, but when I'm by myself, so I have that kind of like
yourself moment.
Emotional thing. So I definitely cried a lot. The stitches were so painful. It was horrible. And then all I could think about was just losing all the people that believed in me, people that bet money. And I'm like, that's all I'm thinking about was just all these other people. Like, I lost this person money. I lost this person money. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to bring the belt home to this gym. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And I mean, it really is like unfortunate. And I still, it's every day. I think I tried really hard the first 2 weeks to be happy, be happy, be happy. Yeah. And I did that. And then after 2 weeks went by, I'm like, oh my God, it's only been 2 weeks. Like, I cannot do this forever. And, so I go up and down and like try to be positive, try to be back in the gym. I am thankful. I have a lot of things to be thankful. My hands aren't broken. Right. Nothing in my face is broken. Yeah. So it was just so bizarre. Like, my nose is fine. I have my orbital bones. We see so many other injuries in bare knuckle. Yeah. So just crazy that I did came out. It was a decision. I was hoping that it was going to be fight of the night at very least. So I still hate her. I still don't respect the girl. I don't even think she was a better fighter. I think she was just better that night. Right. So, I mean, integrity-wise, I still don't feel like I've lost anything besides it sucks when you hate somebody so much. They have, this little that edge over you. Yeah. So it's kind of like I'm trying to take the criticism. People are like, oh, Britain, you need to work on power. And I'm like, listen here. This girl struggled making weight. Joey had to make her take all her clothes off to get on the scale, which is, not something you ever want to do. Right. And, so she barely made weight. Wow. And then the next day she goes on Instagram and posts her on the scale at 140. And I'm like, and I come from boxing too, right? Like, on those certain situations in certain states, that, you weigh in the day before and the day of, you still have to weigh in. And if you guys are more than 10 pounds of each other, you can't fight. Right. So it's kind of more of what we're seeing, but I mean, it's okay. I knew it going into it, so it's not like, oh my God, I'm surprised. Right. But it's just kind of figuring that factor out. Like, do I need to work on power, or are we just seeing somebody hit me who's 30 pounds bigger? Correct. And it looks different. And so I kind of went through that struggle. Like, nah, I didn't do anything wrong. I just fell off my game plan. If I would have not engaged as much and went back to just the countering technique of hers, if I would have repeated round 1 where everyone was booing, I would have had that fight in the bag. Yeah. So I think that's some of my difficulties in the fight, knowing that I could have, if I was just mentally smarter. Like, I didn't lose it physically. I lost it mentally, which I thought I was so mentally strong. Right. But I don't want to be like that, and I want to be open to criticism. So I actually looked up a bunch of things to increase power punching and your punching power, whatever. And I've been doing that, and Joey has a fight coming up. So again, we're just always, thank God,
stay ready.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, again, my emotions are usually all over the place when it comes to fighting, but I think it's a good thing because, you know, like,
you're human.
Yeah, we
It's
are.
natural.
And I kind of wish, you know, I'm like, man, maybe if I didn't bottle up all those feelings and I was like, F you, bitch, and ratchet during the press conference,
Man,
maybe that
it's
emotion would have came out.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know.
I get the experience because, you know, when I lost my fight recently, you know, I went through a lot during the fight camp itself. I almost thought I was going to make it. Same thing. My knee, like, was giving out because, like, we had a newbie in the gym one day. He kind of, like, grabbed my leg too hard. And I felt like, oh, my God, I'm not going to be able to do it. It was a Muay Thai match, so
Right.
I'm definitely going to kick. I was even afraid to pull out because I'm like, I know that this is bigger than me. It's bigger than the fight. It's a movement. It's a statement. It's the first heavyweight women's, you know, fight that's going on in the state. There's more. There's so many, like you, the sponsors, your friends, your family. People are, like, traveling to come see this fight. You don't want to let anybody down. I think it's the fight was amazing. I'm very proud of my fight. My coaches were proud. I gave it everything I had. To lose to somebody that was overweight as well. I mean, you know, and you watch them have that medal be placed on them, and you have to, like, keep your humble spirit, not, like, you know, I was there when Paige walked off of the stage. I was like, oh, my God, like, what is this? That's very disrespectful, not only for the organization, but as for you as a fighter and just everybody in general. But everybody processes their emotions differently. I know that after the fight, when you come out of a loss, is so many different. I know that I still cry to this day sometimes. Like, if I have catch a moment and, like, people still come up to me like, oh, you should have won that fight. Or, you know, like, because when you go to decision, it's out of our hands.
Right.
You either knock them out, you submit them if it's MMA or whatever it is. If you let it go to the judges, it's whatever. You got to be happy with whatever decision they make. You know, and then, of course, there's politics. You can always overturn something, appeal. But and many people told me I should try to appeal that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to accept my loss because taking on this fight opened so many other doors for me. Mm-hmm. And I knew what I was doing. I knew that door that I wanted open is what the goal was. So I was willing to take this loss, not happily, of course.
Right.
But I'm very humbled by the experience. I gained a lot of respect in the industry. It's like another learning experience, and I think, like, trials lead to testimonies. So this is my testimony. Even this moment right here is a testimony. Never did I think when I started the podcast, oh my God, I'm gonna have bare knuckle fighters on here and, like, creating and in the studio with my media family. You know. It's all a growth experience, and, you know, I'm ready for the next step. I know you are as well. What kind of advice would you give a woman that may have gone through battles? I went through my own battles as well. Basically the same thing that you said. I had just gotten out of a very toxic relationship. I tried everything under the sun to lose weight and just try to find something to make me happy. I would look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm not happy right now. Like, in a bunch of stuff. I'm mother of two as well, single mom, got out of the relationship after 10 years. Nobody's gonna love me with 2 kids. You know, like, what am I gonna do with my life at this point? What am I gonna do to make me happy after trying to please everyone else in my life? And I realized you can't please everybody.
Nope.
Not even if you tried. If you're pleasing one person, you're not pleasing another. So I finally said, hey, I'm gonna do what makes me happy. And my dad, he's a soccer coach, played professionally, and, like, I get that you have to be the best type of mentality always was on top of me. So he didn't understand why I would go to boxing. He's like, women's don't fight. Like, he's very old school. He's Honduran, and he's just like, no, like, kind of misogynistic mindset. He still to this day doesn't believe in it. And I've been doing it 5 years now. Like, does he like the fact that I'm doing something to keep me healthy? Sure. But does he want me fighting? No.
Right.
I still
share that with you too. My family did that too. My dad was like, I remember when I was cutting weight to, like, 116, they were like, they literally called me a crack whore. They're like, you look like a crack whore right now. And I'm like, who says that to their kid? You know, like, but you're right. Like, it's just knowing, you know what? The best advice is, like, sometimes the enemies aren't always on the outside. Sometimes
Right.
the enemies are the people that are the closest to us, whether it
Right.
be our mom and dad, family, relationship. And
Yeah.
it's really just important knowing that the only person that can save you is yourself. And you're only responsible for that. Like,
Right.
even like, the worst thing is like with parents and kids, because like, wow, I'm responsible for my kids. And you
Yeah.
are responsible for them 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You're responsible, but you also can be responsible in delegating that. Like, okay, well, my mom is going to help. My mom's better, so, like, as bad as it hurts, it's going to be whatever is better for them being happy, but you being happy. Because what difference does it make if you're an alcoholic drinking every day, but your kid's right next to you and you're sad, miserable, and the only way you can get through life is drinking every day? Then what kind of really are you being responsible for that kid?
Right.
So being responsible is like, I don't have my life together. I need to make me happy, and whatever that is. And I think that it goes for everybody. Like, if you find something, like, just find something that you love and that you're good and passionate, because we only have one life, and there's tons of people that have satisfaction in doing silly jobs that we consider silly jobs. Like, I remember one friend, a good story, he used to be in the boxing gym with me. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
Are you a male stripper? What's going on? What's going on? He's like, no, I'm a garbage guy. He drives like, and I was like, so that's awesome.
Government.
That's cool. And I was like, do you like it? And he was like, hell yeah, I get good benefits. He's always been like a warehouse worker, no benefits. He was like, I get benefits, I get this, blah, blah, blah. And you could hear the excitement this guy was talking about driving a garbage truck. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. Good for you. And he's still doing it. Before, a guy who jumped from job to job to job. Now he's been like consistently in one place, because whether you're important, you have to find where you're important, where you're needed, and where it makes sense to you. So, really finding that happiness starts from the inside. And then once it grows, it's just almost unstoppable to put out. Like, for me, I felt better in my life doing that than meet Joey. Now, guess what? I didn't get to see my kid for 5 years for Christmas, because me and their parents fight so bad. It was so ugly because of everything that happened.
Yeah.
We got him for Christmas for the first time. Then we got him for a whole week and got to bring him to Miami. So things I thought that would never change are starting to change. And why? Because I went and made sure I found something that I knew that I was going to make a purpose and difference in. And I stayed through it no matter what, knowing that that was my call, just like your call.
Yeah.
For, might not work out perfectly, like you wish so badly you won, but you opening that door for women that are considered heavyweights is just huge, because that's a super exciting division for men. Why can't it be for females? Like, that would be awesome. I would love to see heavyweight and bare knuckle women. That would be so cool. So it does not get started until somebody starts it. And so being that such a critical, so many people and women can do that all over the world. It just takes that first step.
Well said. Well, is there anybody you'd like to thank for anything, any reason, your life, your goals, sponsors?
I have a lot of really great sponsors that have been with me. But really, I guess they knew who they are. They're awesome. They always pop up with me. I definitely want to thank my husband, Joey. He has a fight coming up. So you guys watch out for that. It's going to be in Fort Lauderdale. So it's local. So it's April 21st. And then thanks again to my coaches that I've won in Virginia, Marcus Luck, and then went out in California, Coach Haas. And even though I'm not any of those places, they're people that constantly give me wisdom and advice and support every day. So I'm super thankful to have that along with everybody else. If anyone sends me something positive, you're definitely thanked and needed in my life. It helps me because it is a why, and it's something I really believe in as being a feeling. Because if I'm not inspiring and motivating others, I really don't have the need to fight anymore, because it's like what I need to accomplish has been accomplished for my personal goals. Not many people can say they've done what I've done, but for me to keep going, I still have this one with the belt, and I still kind of really haven't accomplished that. So anyways, anyone who's giving me shout out vibes to get back on track to get in a world title, you're much appreciated. I love you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. It's so cool to know that we're not alone, and there's other women that have gone through very similar situations. even being in different sports and being in different weight classes, they were still more alike. Than, so yeah, just big shout out to everybody. Go out there, inspire someone, make a new friend today.
You heard it here first on the Lisa with a Z podcast with Britain Hart Beltran. Thank you so much for coming on my show. I appreciate it. Keep up with her, guys. She is an amazing fighter, great inspiration. Follow her on Instagram and all her social media. I will definitely tag it and put it in this description. Last but not least, what do you see yourself doing by the end of 2022?
By the end of 2022, so this year, that's a good one.
We need to get her a belt.
That is a good one. I know. That's why I'm like, let's just go with that. Let's get that belt.
All right. I'm going to come back to you by the end of the year and see if we got that shiny belt. All right.
All right.
Thank you again, Britain. I'm so honored to have you on here. And I promise you that this is not the end of the road for us. We're just beginning.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good one, folks.